Toastmaster of the day. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. When I was 16, I spent 8 weeks of my summer vacation at math camp. Now, growing up, math was always my favorite subject in school. And at that age, the thought of doing math all day, every day for 8 weeks was actually a lot of fun to me. But I didn't know exactly what I was getting myself into. At that point in life, I didn't really know what math was about. At first, I thought math was just solving equations all day. Learning more advanced math was about solving harder equations. And math camp just really subverted my expectations, and it gave me something to look forward to in school and college. And it was my first step into a bigger world in terms of bigger ideas and bigger thinking. Again, back then, I thought math, the goal of math was to crank through pages and pages of equations and get a final answer. But at math camp, that was not the case. The math camp followed a curriculum based on an undergraduate course on number theory. Despite the name, getting a number as a final answer was not good enough. I had to explain the theory. And part of that exercise was rigor. We had to not just solve equations, not just give an answer, but we had to provide assertions as proof. We actually had to provide something formally known as mathematical proof. Mathematical proof is a very structured, very rigorous arrangement of logic to start from your initial assumptions and reach a final conclusion. And it's harder than it sounds. It's definitely a skill that I had to learn a lot the hard way back in those days. It's something that you do as a baseline for college math. So this early experience really did carry on for a long time for me. And luckily, we got to start small. Started from basic tidbits of knowledge called axioms, and started proving some really basic, really fundamental things about numbers and algebra. So for example, one of our early proofs was to explain why the sum of two even numbers was even. That can get tough though, when you feel like you have to explain something that's obvious, but it's a really good mental exercise. It's a really good puzzle you run into more often than you think. And from there, we advanced on to more advanced topics, more complicated ideas. Now, developing that skill, especially early on, and working on it throughout high school, working on it throughout college, really helped me in the long run. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the base skill you need for advanced math classes when you get to college. You can't just say the answer is this. Sometimes the question isn't even that. You have to explain why something is true. And it's, again, not always as easy as it sounds. It's also helped me on the job. It's one thing to crack a tough problem. It's another thing to explain to someone and convince them that your solution is correct. Working on this skill set over years and years really leveled up my ability to formulate an argument. And it's been something that's I continue to develop to this day. But as I was getting the basics down in my first couple of weeks at math camp, still got by with a little help from my friends. In school, what really drew me to math was that I was a shy, brainy kid, and I absolutely thought math was a single player game. If you knew your stuff, you didn't really need to talk to anyone. But that summer, I did not know my stuff. The curriculum was a lot tougher than I originally realized, and I was surrounded by a lot of other students who were in the same boat. We had lectures, we had problem sets with leading questions, but we didn't have textbooks. We didn't have access to internet. We had limited access to internet. And we also had a bunch of counselors who were specifically instructed not to help us. So what better way to learn than to learn from your peers? And we all started out just working on problem sets around around the dormitory common room, the university, and started off just griping about problem sets and these unhelpful counselors. And we all got to learn each other, spent some time playing basketball, eating lunch together, going to lectures, and we all learned we were competitive and we were all trying to one-up each other and we were all trying to find the most clever solutions to these problems. But over time, that gave way to deeper collaboration. We would share ideas. We were always there trying to egg each other on, trying to figure out how we were going to get to that higher level of ability, how we were going to craft the best answers to these tough questions, and how we were going to figure out all the connections, how to connect all the dots from end to end for some of these more complicated ideas. It really laid the foundations for how I form study groups in college and how I work with colleagues on the job. Math camp was altogether an unexpected and unusual experience for me, but it taught me a lot, and it's really carried on into my daily life today. Learned how to craft an argument, learned how to work productively with my peers. And when I was invited back to be a junior counselor at the end of the summer, I learned that I was able to accomplish more than I realized, that I really had it in me when I really tried my best and applied myself. 15 years later, I cherish these memories and share them with you today. It really shaped my career trajectory and shaped my motivations as a person, that I'm still capable of learning and growing. Thank you.